Okay, it is now 5:35. We're going to go ahead and begin. So first off, I'd like to start by just thanking everyone for attending this meeting. If you do not know who I am, my name is Mr. VC. I'm the director over Enrichment Masters. And we have 5 discussion topics that we're going to go over today. So I'm going to try to make sure that this is as brief as possible. And and afterwards I'll open the floor up for some questions. Unfortunately, the questions are going to have to be brief because I have another virtual parent meeting immediately following this one. So with that being said, I'd like to start by number one, just taking everyone through the process. We're going to first start talking about our final events. So for those of you who are not aware, or when you registered, one of the things that you may have heard us mention is that we use a project-based model here, which means that each week that students come to the program, they are always preparing for a final presentation of some kind. So before we delve into that, I'd like to quickly just take you through the transition period. So believe it or not, Enrichment Masters, we started off with 6 schools last year that we were working with, and about 175 students. This year we're at 25 schools and about 1,100 students. So within less than a year, we experienced some significant exponential growth there. So admittedly, there were some things that we had to quickly make adjustments for. So I definitely want to apologize for any, we know that there have been some frustrations that parents may have experienced. We had to move into a new system that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on. But with that growth, that brings us to our final projects. So the first thing I want to talk about is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And because I cannot see you all while I am sharing, I'm going to ask if you will just audibly let me know whether or not you can see my screen. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right, so the very first event, and please know that these 4 events are going to be taking place in the month of December, tentatively during the 3rd week of December. So this first event, which is a night of enrichment, is actually going to be our largest event. We are actually, so going back to one of my previous statements, as I mentioned, this year we're in 25 schools, 15 schools in Broward County and 10 schools in Dade County. And the 1,100 students that I was talking about, those are just Broward County students. That's not including the other 1,000 that we have in Dade County. So just sticking to Broward County right now, this particular event, a night of enrichment, is going to be a very large event. We like to make all of our events, number one, an experience. We want to make sure that our students have an experience, and you, the parents, and family and friends also end up having one as well. So one of the reasons why I'm mentioning that is most students are already accustomed to being at school. You know, they may have a school show or winter show, something like that, and they're used to this being done in their cafeteria. With our Enrichment Masters events, we like to expose them to different settings and a different type of environment. And we're really trying to create poignant moments, poignant experiences, things that will stay with them throughout their lifetime as they get older. And not just them, but you, the parent, as well. So this particular event actually involves 7 of our enrichment programs. Those 7 programs are our pottery and ceramics program, our sketching and comic book design, our fashion design, our film production, music production, podcasting, and our actors and screenwriters program. So with Winston Park, there are, I know you all have the pottery and the sketching. So students involved in that particular enrichment program will be taking place and participating in this one, along with students from the other schools. So we are expecting anywhere between 700 to 1,000 people in attendance. As you can imagine, with the growth, we had to find a venue that would accommodate that number of people. So right now we are finalizing negotiations with the venue that we've selected. Please know, so looking at the schools that are participating, you see Banyan Elementary, Country Hills, Dolphin Bay, Eagle Point, Imagine Charter Weston, Indian Trace also in Weston, Palm Cove and Pines, Riverside Elementary in Coral Springs, Peters in Plantation, Silver Lakes in Miramar, Somerset Central Miramar, Somerset North Lauderdale, Village Elementary in Sunrise, West Park in Hollywood, and Winston Park in Coconut Creek, which is you all. So as you can see, we're in schools all throughout the county, in Coral Springs and Plantation and so forth. And so what we did was our best to choose a central location, one that neither party would have to travel too far to get to. So please know that once everything is finalized with the venue, once we have the date and the time, we will be communicating that with you, the parents. So like I said, this is going to be a very exciting event with students from throughout Broward County and parents throughout Broward County. And I guarantee you it's going to be something that you all enjoy. We like to do events very big. So let's move on to the next one. This one will also take place in December. So this is our Robot Rumble tournament. As you can see, it involves 10 of the schools within Broward County. Winston Park is one of them. So students your students at Winston Park will be competing against other students at other schools. This tournament will also take place at a central location. That's what we're working on and finalizing with the venue. So this tournament right now, the students, I believe we're on week 3 with you all. So the students are still in their introductory phase where they're now being introduced to their beginner robots. So even the solar robot kits that they're currently working on is not going to be their competition robot. We are leading them up and building them up to the point that they're able to not only assemble, but program their competition robot. So this one thing I do want to point out to all parents, as things continue to progress, please know that it's only going to intensify. And like I said, with this project-based model, we're always preparing them for this final presentation that will be taking place in December. Please give me one moment. There's a parent I need to let in. Okay. All right. So let's go back here. Now that that's done. Okay. So that will be the robotics tournament. Like I said, the students love it because they not only get to work as a team, but they get to interact with other students from other schools as well in friendly competition. This brings us to our next December event. I'm not going to linger here. The drumline event is a very big one as well. We typically have around 700, also close to 1,000 people who attend. As you can see, there are 11 schools that participate in this drumline competition. We usually also have a guest drumline to perform as well, whether it be from a local high school drumline or a college one. And the reason why I'm not going to linger here is because right now for the fall, Winston Park does not have the drumline program. However, this will be relevant to you all in the spring. So this is another exciting event that that parents and students come to enjoy and love. And then the last event, December event that I want to briefly talk about is the 3-on-3 basketball tournament. So the students who are in the basketball enrichment program will be competing against other students. Excuse me one moment. Let me once again take the time to let in another parent. Okay. All right. So going back to what I was saying, they will be competing against students from Riverside and Coral Springs and Palm Cove in Pines. So they'll be competing in a 3-on-3 tournament inside a gymnasium. Again, once we have finalized everything with the venue that we're in negotiations with, we will send out those dates and times to you all immediately so you can lock them in your schedule. So the last thing I want to just briefly touch on before I move on to the next topic is this. As you can see, this is one of the reasons why in the very beginning, we mentioned that we discourage the frequent back and forth. We typically only allow a student to change programs once because they are preparing for these events. And there's no way they can do that if they're jumping from, here, let me stop sharing my screen and actually get back to this. All right. So as I was saying before, there's no way that they can be prepared for their final presentation if they're in robotics in September and then they jump to basketball in October and then back to to pottery. They'll never learn the skills and acquire the fundamentals that they need in order to be prepared for their December event. I do see that there is a question. Please know that there is a Q&A session afterwards. So I'm going to ask that you allow me to continue on with the discussion topics, and then I promise you we will get to the questions. So moving on, the next thing I want to bring us to and move to is our new system. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier, and I'd like to apologize again, please know that we are aware that you know, some things have been a little frustrating for you parents when it came to the registration process, or you know, making these changes and so forth. The previous system that we had in place and the current one that we had in place, as I mentioned, that was fine when we had, you know, around 175 students in our program and 6 schools. But once we jumped to 25 schools, 15 schools in Broward and 10 in Dade, and now you're in the thousands of students, our current system and our previous one was just not adequate to handle that volume. So we are, and I'm proud to announce that we will be switching to a new system, a much more efficient system that I'm very confident that you, the parents, will come to enjoy. It is powered by a vendor called Kangaroo Time. Please know that me and our IT department, we've been in a number of meetings and demos, sitting in about at least 8 of them. And it took a little time to identify the one that had most of the features and functionality that we were looking for, not just on the administrative side, but for you, the parent, as well. So this new system that we will be switching over to will empower you, the parent. It'll enable you to make changes on your own. So whenever eventually you do choose to change over to a new program or anything else like that, everything will be much more streamlined and will go just like that, even when it comes to communications with enrichment masters, with our offices and you. So, and also this includes the checkout process as well. Their app, based on what I saw, is phenomenal. It makes the pickup process very streamlined too, even allowing parents to they use their phones to just, simply scan the QR code, and it timestamps the pickup and all of these other things. So, like I said, we're fairly confident that you will enjoy this new system. Please know that the migration process actually begins next week. However, it won't be completed until around mid to late October. So the other thing I want to say is, once we migrate everything over, you will not have to re-register. All of your information, the parent information, as well as the student information, will be migrated into this new system. So when we send out the emails, the only thing that you, the parent, will be prompted and required to do is to create a personal password. And then, unfortunately, the other thing that you will need to do is to re-enter your credit card or your payment information. And the reason why that's necessary, we're well aware that some parents have already stored their credit card information or their payment information in this current system. Obviously, because they are separate vendors, the one vendor does not have authorization to share your personal credit card information with another. So that's why once we migrate over, you will unfortunately have to do that second step, adding your payment information into the new system. And then the last thing I want to say is that once everything migrates over, you'll be able to see the programs that your child is registered in on your dashboard, and you'll also be able to go back and look at your payment history as well. So again, we start this process actually next week. It's going to take a little time to migrate everything over. Again, we're looking at well over 1,100 students and parents, so not just the students' information, but the parents' information as well. But once that's done, as I said, you're gonna enjoy it. And again, we apologize from the bottom of our hearts with all sincerity of any inconveniences or frustrations that you parents experienced at the beginning of the session. So that brings me on to the next topic, which that I want to talk about. So we've received some requests from parents if we could share our curriculum with you all. So though we cannot share our full curriculum with you, what we have elected to do is we're going to be sharing with you a weekly program activities overview. And we're going to be doing this for a few reasons. This overview will at least provide you with somewhat of the highlight of what your child will be doing and learning that week. So I'm going to once again share my screen with you very briefly. I'm going to ask someone to please just acknowledge and let me know when you are seeing what's on my screen. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you very much. All right, so what you're looking at, this is giving you a rough idea of what the weekly program activities overview will include or entail. So as you can see, it'll let you know what week. So for the week of September 19th, as an example, the school, the enrichment program in this particular situation, pottery and ceramics. It'll let you know what their weekly project is, in this instance, creating your own Rubik's Cube. It'll also make you aware of the covered terms and skills. So if they're going over smoothing, going over shapes, as how to create cubes, spheres, and prisms. It'll also give you an idea of what the learning and practice activity will be, whether or not it's dealing with practicing water control or pottery wheel or smoothing techniques and so forth. In addition, it will include any links to any at-home practice videos that the instructor uploads and wants the students to go home and begin practicing. And then last but not least, it will let you know what event or final project this is preparing them for. So again, everything we do is always preparing them for their final project or presentation. So with that being said, I want to go back. Let me stop sharing my screen here. All right. So I do want to take the time to mention this. The other reason why we opted to share this with you on a weekly basis is this. Speaking as a parent myself, as some of you may have already experienced, a lot of times the tendency as students get older, or as children get older, sometimes it can become a little bit more difficult to, sorry about that, become a little bit more difficult to actually get information and draw things out of them when we're talking about conversation. So our hope is that with you as a parent now having this in advance and being aware of what it is that's being covered on a weekly basis, you can ask more directed questions. So rather than just asking, hey, how did pottery go? And your child saying, oh, it was okay, or we did this or whatever, and them not really sharing specifics with you. Sometimes they'll give you information, but it doesn't really fully paint a picture of what's being covered. And so with this information, it'll allow you to ask more detailed questions, such as, oh, I saw that you guys were going to be going over smoothing techniques this week. Tell me about it. How did that go? And then hopefully you'll get a completely different response. Oh yeah, we used a sponge today, and they had us use this, and we got to, we would wet the sponge with water, but they said we needed to make sure we didn't use too much water to smooth this out, and so forth. And so our hope is that it allows you to start having a much more substantive conversation with your child, because again, as parents, I mean, let's be honest, especially for those students that are still in elementary school, these years go by real fast, and you're trying to get as much quality time as possible with your child. So the more opportunities we can create to help you to engage in those type of, I guess, meaningful conversations where you can engage in a quote unquote, I don't want to say sophisticated dialogue with your child, but a more impactful dialogue with your child about something that they are learning and something that they're enjoying and starting to generate a passion for, then that's really one of our goals. And we hope that this helps in that endeavor. So let's move on to the next topic that I want to talk about, and that is the next payment that's coming up. So one of the questions that came up, and we've had some parents ask, they're like, well, is it over after September? And I do want to make this clear. No, we're there throughout the entire year. So as far as the current enrichment programs, those conclude around December when the final events take place, their final projects and presentations. So the next round of payments, as I said, I believe this is week 3 for most of you. There are some parents who ended up starting the subsequent week. Each payment always covers 4 weeks. So regardless of whether you started, on the 6th, I'm sorry, what days did we come out to Winston Park? I believe it's Tuesday. Yeah, so regardless of whether your child started on the 6th or the 13th, it's always going to cover 4 sessions, or 4 weeks is the easiest way to think of it. So as far as the next payment period number 2 coming up, some of you are going to start receiving email links and notices starting today and tomorrow to let you know, hey, the next payment is coming up. Here is the link to pay for it. And that brings me to another point that I would like to stress. is that the spots, the students spot in these programs are secured with the payment. So a spot only becomes open if a parent and their child opts to no longer continue in the program, and that's usually indicated by a lack of payment. And so, with that in mind, Winston Park, I believe you all have maybe about 150 students, close to about 150 students participating in the program. So your school, as well as Country Hills that has around 200, there are several parents who are, in a sense, lying in wait for, let's say, a spot to open in robotics, or a spot to open in sketching or something of that nature. And so we've had some parents who have chosen, rather than to do it, rather than pay month to month, sometimes they just choose to pay for all of the fall periods up front. So that was something that most parents were not aware of. So I did want to take the time to let you know that you do have that option should you choose to do that. So once again, the links for the second payment period will be going out starting tonight and tomorrow, so parents can pay for the next period. And that brings me to the last discussion point before I open the floor up to some questions, and that would be the ice cream station coming out next week. So the ice cream station, along with, we have some outings scheduled for the spring. Outings, basically, essentially, think of them as trips. So for example, one outing that we've done in the past with drumline students is that all of us would meet and we would travel to go see like college drumline. And again, these type of opportunities just allow the students to be able to interact with students from other schools, outside of schools, and we're all about trying to create as many opportunities to help them cultivate friendships, because again, as parents, sometimes not every kid knows how to initiate a friendship. And so what we found is that 9 times out of 10, when a student is in a particular enrichment program, a lot of times they end up in a setting where they're surrounded by like-minded students. So on the elementary school level, when most of them are only confined to interacting with those 18 other kids that are in their class, environments and settings such as these give them the opportunity to interact with students who are not necessarily in their class. And so with our core values being focus, friendship, fortitude, and fun, we try to create as many opportunities and experiences for students to be able to practice those, cultivating friendships, knowing the importance of focusing on what it is that you're doing, whether you are in fashion design and working with that sewing machine, knowing to focus so you don't end up, pricking your finger or something like that, or if you're in drumline, not hitting your finger with the stick. That fortitude is another core value that we like to instill into it. That can do, no quit attitude. Just because something is hard doesn't mean that you cannot do it. And so that's even pivoting back to the only allowing students to switch once. Sometimes students, when they encounter something that is difficult, the tendency is that, well, this is harder than I thought, I want to quit and try something else. No, not necessarily. Sometimes it requires being patient, putting in the work to, work harder and to get it, because we let them know that, hey, just because you don't get it the first time doesn't mean that if you keep at it, you won't master this skill and improve. And so one of the things that we're constantly communicating to the kids is the importance of fortitude. You know, to when you encounter something challenging, you know, grit your teeth. Tell yourself, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, it's hard, but yeah, I'm gonna keep trying. I can do it. I can. I'm not gonna quit. And so that's one of the things that we found is very important with students. And then last but not least, as parents, you know, we want them to have fun. And so any opportunity, whether it be eating ice cream with your friends or going to the outings, any setting we can help them to have fun while they're here, we're going to do it. And even, you know, opportunities where we can include you, the parent as well. So when you're on the outings, parents are definitely welcome to attend those. So you can have as much quality time as possible with your child before they, you know, grow up real fast, and the next thing you know, they're off to college, and you know, you don't see them as much anymore, or they become a teenager, and you know, all they want to do is hang out with their friends and don't want much to do with you. So that's it. I don't want to, you know, get too sappy right now. I want to go ahead and stop there so I can open the floor up to any questions that anyone may have pertaining to the topics that were discussed, or if someone has a one-on-one question, I'm definitely willing to stay behind after I release everyone and answer any question that you may have with the time allotted. So, having said that, last thing, please know that this session, this meeting was recorded for the sake of any parents who wanted to attend but could not. So we will be posting it so they can watch it at a later time. So does anyone have any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I was wondering if she wanted to do two robotics and what was it? The computer class. Is she allowed to do two different things in one day?
So to my understanding, I don't believe here. Let me confirm that, because like I said, we're in a few schools, so sometimes I have to remember
Winston Park.
what programs,
Elementary.
are at which school. So let me take a look at the spring.
Okay.
Okay, so when you say the computer, are you referring to the web and graphic design,
Yeah.
which is taking place in the? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
So yes, a student can do two. They can do
In
one
one
from
day.
2 to 3. Yes,
Uh-huh.
2 in one day. So they can do one from 2 to 3 p.m. and then another from 3 to 4 p.m. Again,
Right.
the only caveat or tricky part is to make sure that you register and secure their spot in time with the payment, so you are locked in.
Oh, okay.
So yes, yes, they can.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions?
No, that was it.
Okay. Is there another parent with a question that I can possibly answer? Okay. Okay. We have someone who came in a little late. Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, then once
Hi.
again,
I have a
hi.
question. I
Hi.
wrote it in the chat, but I'm
Okay.
not sure if you got to read it. So
No,
my
I didn't.
question,
My apologies.
no, it's fine. My question is, are they, while in the program, are they allowed snack time in the 2 to 3 p.m. Slot or the 3 to 4 p.m. slot?
So we don't serve snacks.
Yes, are they
However,
allowed snack?
oh yeah, if they have a snack, yes, they're allowed to eat it.
Oh, okay. All right, that's my only
Yes,
question.
yes.
So
Yeah,
the teachers are okay with her
that
pulling
can
her
be
snack
a
out?
pretty long day sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be a pretty long day sometimes. And so no, we get that. You know, as long as they're not going to be too messy, then yes, by all means, we want them to eat their snack and be able to continue. So yes, that's fine.
Okay. And then a second question for kindergarten, Winston Park, you only have available, is it track for them and sketching? Is
For
that the
the
two
spring?
programs? For
Are you
kindergarten,
referring
yeah,
to the spring?
yes.
So let me take a look here. And just to reiterate this part, the programs that are at your schools are chosen by administration. So we only bring what they tell us that they want there. So for kindergarten, for the spring, it's chess and track and field. Those are the ones that will be available. Now, that's not to say that administration won't opt to bring something else. So if you, the parent, you know, if you and let's say some other parents would like to see a different program or an additional program made available on the spring, I have no doubt that if you communicate that to Mrs. McCrae or Ms. Eggleston, you know, that they'll definitely reach out to us and ask us to bring it.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Okay, are there any other questions? I literally have 2 minutes. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, then once again, I thank all of you for taking the time to attend this meeting on a Thursday night. Once again, please know that every day we are striving to make improvements to make things more efficient for you and your child. And I hope to see you all again soon. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, I miss because it's just now. I don't know.
Okay. Hi, is this Solange that I'm talking to?
Yes.
Hi. So yes, unfortunately, you did miss the topics.
Yes.
And I actually have another virtual parent meeting that I have to jump into. But good news is that we did record it. So we will be posting it up onto the website so you, the parent, can you know, watch it and see everything that was discussed.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.